A 14-story building in New Orleans sat empty for more than a decade. But earlier this year, the Lake Forest Towers was reborn as Lake Forest Manor.
Well, Sam Winstrom explains how a longtime eyesore became a success story in New Orleans East.
It took 14 years for opportunity to meet inspiration at the old Lake Forest Towers. But this year, the long-abandoned building is back. Empty since Hurricane Katrina, the Lake Forest Towers is now Lake Forest Manor, an affordable housing development for senior citizens. Developer Michael Toubre with TKTMJ Incorporated says the idea came to him when block grants for an affordable housing project were made available in 2019. Toubre drove by the blighted building every day and knew it would be a perfect fit for the housing grant.
After 14 years of complete blight and water intrusion and the like, it took quite a bit of vision to see that it could come together as a beautiful, kind of beacon shining out in New Orleans East.
Lake Forest Manor is just one of many blighted buildings across New Orleans that have been empty since Hurricane Katrina, but it's one of just a handful to come back into commerce. Toubre says the biggest issue holding back redevelopment for projects like these is funding. It's something we heard from every developer we spoke with about blight in New Orleans. In this case, TKTMJ used 6 funding sources to get the $34 million they needed to get this project done.
So there are a lot of banks and investors that are willing to invest. The flip side is insurance has skyrocketed post the past couple of years, and that's going to continue to be a problem. Expenses are going up.
Standing at 14 stories tall, Lake Forest Manor is bigger than current zoning laws allow. Toubre said that made it a challenge to get through safety and permits, but it also made it a rare opportunity to develop a truly eye-catching building, just like another redevelopment in New Orleans East, the high-rise.
These are beacons, the high-rise and the Lake Forest Manor.
I met Tangi Wall right around the corner from the Lake Forest Manor at the PJ's Coffee on Reed Boulevard. A longtime New Orleans East resident, Wall believes the major developments in New Orleans East this year are just the start.
Sometimes you say if they build it, they will come. And someone has to jumpstart it.
And she hopes that development will carry over right here to the old Lake Forest Plaza, where the only thing going right now are weeds. The plaza was the largest shopping center in the state when it opened in 1973, but the mall was already on its last legs by the time it flooded during Hurricane Katrina. Wall sees it as the perfect opportunity for a big box store to come to New Orleans.
We're looking for that big box. We're looking for that retail, the anchor, that can make an amazing difference.
And Toubre agrees. He says the time is right to invest in New Orleans East.
New Orleans East, being the largest landmass of the entire city, has the most potential for large-scale developments.
And New Orleans leaders are eager to make that happen. Following the success of Lake Forest Manor and the high-rise, Councilman Oliver Thomas believes that if the city can set up developers for success, then New Orleans East can succeed too.
The first thing we need to do is start looking at blight as an opportunity. Don't just see blight, see a future business, see a future home. Let's build on our assets and we'll build our city.
Well, this is part 5 of Sam's series, and I have to just ask you, what does it take to really redevelop one of these massive projects?
Well, at the end of the day, it takes 2 things really, and one of them, of course, is funding. But the other one is the developer has to have a vision. You've got to be able to see the space, know how you can renovate that space, and how to do it in, the certain budget, with the certain codes, with the certain grants, and everything else that comes into play. And in this case, Michael Toubre, he drove by this building every day, and he knew it used to be. It was senior living before Hurricane Katrina as well.
Right.
And when this block grant became available for affordable housing in New Orleans, everything just clicked and fell into place. And the stars aligned. And these things fall through sometimes because, either the funding isn't there, or in some cases, the vision doesn't line up. And developers will butt heads and just can't agree on what to do. And that's how some of these buildings end up sitting there for 15, 20 years.
I feel like that's what's happening with the Six Flags redevelopment project.
A lot of them, yeah. You've talked about that this week, and that federal funding is key here.
Yeah, the federal funding is huge. Lining up all those developers and everyone that wants to build inside that site is huge. And the fact that the lease isn't done yet, the developers in that project told me once, time kills deals, and it's been almost a year they've been negotiating this lease now. So hopefully we'll get an update on that one this December.
All right, well, David Hammer has some additional information for us tonight at 10 as well. This has really been a great series for a big issue in New Orleans. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.